Welcome to Ragbag's bonus bag. My name's Frank Burton. Something very special indeed for you this time. This was originally going to be an interview with Nancy Kells, also known as Spartan Jet-Plex. That is still going to happen, but it will have to wait for a future edition because we've ended up making an actual proper documentary about Nancy's label, Grimalkin Records, which, as you will learn, is more than just a label, right?
Hi there, this is Nancy Kells of Spartan, Jet-Plex, and Grimalkin Records. So Grimalkin Records initially started out as Friends for Equality with my friend James.
My name's James and I run Fox Food Records. So the idea for Friends for Equality came from feelings of pure anger and frustration after the Brexit vote here in the UK and the election over in America. And around that time I was chatting with Nancy about having a profound need or urge to do something positive, and Nancy had exactly the same feelings. And positivity to me has always been drawn from music, and it's an amazing way of building bridges, bringing people together for good reasons. And so we very quickly came up with the idea of a music compilation, of which the proceeds would go to organisations who would help the most vulnerable people in society. And very quickly we began rounding up friends and acquaintances to help us. Anybody we knew who was a musician or an artist who could maybe contribute to the compilation. And the response was unbelievable. And within a few days we had loads of artists on board sharing ideas and music. And it was just such a positive time and such an uplifting time. And from that point, Friends for Equality was born.
So for me, it had seemed like we were progressing a lot more forward here positively in the United States than we really were in reality. I had been living in Los Angeles for 12 years. I moved there in 1996, and I basically was living in a progressive bubble for a fairly long time. And in 2008, I moved here to Virginia. I live about an hour south of Richmond. It's in a very rural area. The tiny town I live in has only a little over 200 people living here. So in 2008, Obama was elected, and Virginia, which is a swing state, although it went blue both times Obama was elected. And also, this last election, Democrats and Republicans, in my opinion, are pretty much the same when it comes to things like war or being bought out by Wall Street. But socially, Democrats usually tend to be more so on the right side of history. So I think after this past election, people were really looking for a way to come together to do something positive, and make a statement of resistance against everything that was going on. And so we put out a compilation, and the first compilation has over 40 musicians from all over the world. Soon after that, I organized a zine that had artwork and poetry and creative writing, also from people all over the world. And then last year we did a second compilation, and again the support was overwhelming, and there's over 50 musicians on that one. And initially all of the proceeds for both the compilations and the zine were going to the Southern Poverty Law Center and Planned Parenthood. The Southern Poverty Law Center is a hate watch group, and among other things, they provide legal counsel to people who are survivors of hate crimes and discrimination. So, and although I've always strive to be active. I've voted in every election since I was 18 and registered to vote. I call my representatives and write to them about issues that are important, but I mean, I donated some of my time and money when I can, but it became crystal clear just how little I was doing and how much more I should be doing and could be doing. And so things just kind of grew from there as to trying to do better as a citizen and work against the things that were happening. They've been happening all along. It's kind of like the election sort of shed a light on all of the most horrific and disgusting parts of our country, kind of shed a light on that. And like I said, I really had been living in a bubble out in Los Angeles, and then coming here, things seemed still pretty good, given that we had Obama for 8 years. But there was quite a bit of a culture shock moving from Los Angeles to here. I mean, Richmond's it's pretty progressive in general. I mean, outside of the Confederate statues that are still up in the streets, but I mean, it's progressive compared to Surrey County, where I'm living now. You can go down the street and see pro-Trump signs and people with the Confederate flag hanging outside their house. So it definitely was a reminder moving here, but still, Obama was president. It seemed like, things were getting better. Marriage equality passed under him. Just in general, things were bad in a lot of ways, but in other ways, it seemed like we were pushing forward as a country. And a lot of these things were just really being shadowed. I live a pretty sheltered, privileged life, so I think a lot of the things that were still continuing to happen, I was just really didn't think it was as bad as that. Yeah, so just out of a desire to want to do more. And I think the biggest way to do more is just support people in your communities and support those organizations and nonprofits and community groups who've already been doing this work for forever. And that's the best thing you can do. So the main goal of Grimalkin Records is to do just that, to support people and collectives and community organizations and nonprofits who are doing this hard work, who've been doing this hard work, and also to support musicians and artists in the community, because I think they are the voice of change. And so that's really how things kind of morphed into Grimalkin Records, where I wanted to do physical releases of artists, local artists, but also artists anywhere in the world, and help organizations and collectives where proceeds would be going to those different groups. So the artist would choose which organization or collective to support. It could be one that they're involved in, one they're passionate about, or the funds could go directly to them personally. Maybe they have medical bills that they need to pay. And obviously, we're just getting started. We're small. It's not like a ton of money is to be made by these releases, but it's more than that. It's money, and hopefully it'll build up to more and more money to support people and causes, but it's also just a positive way to kind of process what's going on in the world, support each other, and deal with things in a positive way. And I do think that is by the biggest thing we can do to strike back as an individual against what's happening, is to support the people who are doing the hard work, who are doing positive things, who are trying to survive in this world where everything is stacked up against them. So now, currently though, everything on our band camp is going to Dialyseiz. It's the Refugee and Immigrant Center for Education and Legal Services. They're based out of Texas. We decided to do that due to our current, immigration crisis here. So everything online, we have t-shirts, stickers, pins, our 2 compilations at the moment, and issue 1 of the zine. All those proceeds are going to Dialyseiz at the moment for the unforeseeable future. It doesn't seem like there's a positive end in sight. It's just horror after horror that we're reading about in the news related to this rash and racist, ignorant decision that was made by our current administration. So another thing that Grimalkin Records is doing as well is collaborating with community groups and organizing benefit shows as well for nonprofits and organizations. Soon after we put out the first compilation, we had 2 local benefit shows. And then this past June, we had one for the Virginia Anti-Violence Project. We're having another one this August on the 18th for Nations Foundation. So those are just 2 of a variety of really great organizations and community groups in the Richmond area that are doing a lot of really wonderful work and have been for quite a while. So one of the goals of Grimalkin Records is to grow as a collective of people so that we're creating this space and place for people to come together and support one another. My friend Sharmishta, who makes amazing music under Tavishi, and she's also a very talented artist, and she's helping with artwork for releases and for the benefit shows. She's also helped with organizing shows. She is the founder of Womajich Dialyseiz. It's a noise improv collective that I play music out with in Richmond.
Hi, I'm Sharmishta Lukdar, and I make music solo as Tavishi. And when I'm not making music, I do cancer research at VCU, which is Virginia Commonwealth University. Apart from that, I also perform in a amazing collective called Womajich Dialyseiz, and I really enjoy making music with them and collaborating with them. I met Nancy a few years ago, and we were making music, and that was how we became friends. And she asked me to help her organize fundraisers for different community organizations like Virginia Anti-Violence Project and Nations. And since then, I guess we've been trying to help the community grassroots organizations that need a lot of support for all the amazing work that they do. And I hope that through this collective of Grimalkin Records, we continue to do that, and we are able to help queer and trans people of color in the community who need the most help. And maybe we will be able to support artists who need, say, help in recording or processing or releasing their music, or whichever way we can do to help them. I really enjoy that the music that I make is like very different from what I do when I'm with Womajich. For example, when I'm making music as Tavishi, I incorporate different elements like sometimes scientific data, sometimes Indian music, Western noise, ambient or industrial elements to create experimental music. And this has a structure when I'm performing live and some improvisation as well. But when I'm performing with Womajich Dialyseiz, there is no pre-formed structure. We just come together and we listen to each other and we try to create music in the moment, which is, I find as very, very powerfully moving and liberatory, because it's like losing control in a good way. And but the folks at Womajich Dialyseiz, I've learned so much from them. There's just these amazing artists, and yeah, I'm glad that some of them, like Nancy and Liz and Heaven, have joined Grimalkin Records and are helping us with our work as well. And I'm really excited to see where it will go in the future.
So, although I write and record music under Spartan Jet-Plex, and I'm involved in several other collaborations, I didn't play out until this past year and a half, 2 years. So she had invited me to join them one day when they were playing, and I really had a good time playing with them. And then they played a show out, and she invited me to play again. And I discovered that I really enjoyed it a lot, which was pretty surprising. I have anxiety and stage fright, so I really didn't think that I would enjoy playing in front of people, but it was great. It was different. You kind of forget about everybody else but the people you're playing with. And, you know, improvisation is just different than, say, trying to recreate Spartan Jet-Plex live, which for me, I feel like would be impossible, because I feel like the songs that I create and record at home are exactly what I want them to be. And so to try to do that live would really be impossible. I suppose I could have a lot of playback of those recordings through a computer or whatever, but again, I don't feel like that would really capture exactly what I was trying to do with that project. But with improvisation, it's different. It's music that's happening collectively. It's happening in the moment, and everyone is tuned in to what we're doing in that moment, and we're listening to each other, and we're bouncing ideas off of one another in the moment. And it's really cathartic. And yeah, so we're a pretty big collective. We're basically, when we have shows, anyone who can and wants to play just shows up. So we might have anywhere from just 2 people to 15 or more joining us for a show. We do a lot of house shows, but occasionally we get asked to play for bigger touring bands that are coming through Richmond. Just a couple weeks ago, we opened for The Body and Lingua Inota, and last year we were asked to open for King Woman and Thou. And so that was pretty exciting to do that. Another friend who's in Womajich Dialyseiz, Heaven, they joined on also to help doing A&R type stuff for the label, mainly recruiting and curating. They curated our soon-to-be-released cassette that we're putting out on Grimalkin Records, and the proceeds from that release are going to go towards a community PA system that we can use and lend out for house shows and benefit shows and that type of thing. And they're also in another local collective called Great Dismal, and they also put on various local benefit shows monthly. Richmond really has a lot of very talented musicians and activists and people, especially a lot of younger people who are really actively working to make the community and the city a safer place and a more accepting and welcoming place. Another musician and artist helping with Grimalkin Records is Elizabeth Owens. They have a new album coming out this September. They're super talented. They played recently at the benefit show this past June for the Virginia Anti-Violence Project. And they're helping with graphic design and doing the artwork and design for the J cards for the cassette releases. And they make music under their name, Elizabeth Owens. And they're also in another amazing band, Private Cry, who are on hiatus at the moment. And they are also in Womajich Dialyseiz. They do a lot of help with the organizing of the benefit shows and artwork for that as well.
Hi, so I'm Elizabeth Owens. I'm a Richmond-based artist. I work with Nancy on Grimalkin Records stuff. Regarding my music, I have my first full-length album coming out this September, and it's called Coming of Age. It has a really loose narrative arc, which is basically like a princess has been trapped in a tower and asleep for many years and awakens and discovers that she has been trapped in this tower. And she decides to get out of the tower and travel into the unknown, which is sort of like the spooky woods off in the distance, to figure out why she was trapped there and who she is. All that good, deep stuff. And for me, it's sort of like a journey of awakening, particularly as like a non-binary person, awakening to the sort of gendered, privileged fairy tale life that I think I was raised in, and almost unraveling the fantasies of ownership and whiteness and gender. Yeah, just like the illusions that trap us all, or at least that trapped me. I'll speak for myself. And, you know, what it means to be a princess, what it means to be a warrior, what it means to protect, what it means to bury, what it means to be saved, and what it means to wake up, really, and to be brave and vulnerable at the same time, and like realize that those things aren't actually mutually exclusive, and they're actually like very, very important to each other. I am super excited about Grimalkin and working with Nancy. Grimalkin could be really, really great at like actually amplifying the voices of people who need to be heard more. It would be nice to have a label that actually cares about those things and puts that at like the forefront of its energy and its focus. So yeah, I'm super excited to move forward with Grimalkin and release this record together and just keep doing good work.
So Liz's album will be out this September 8th, and it will be on cassette via Grimalkin Records. And we're having a release show on September 8th at Gallery 5 in Richmond. And Dave Watkins and Pam McCarthy are supporting that show and Liz's new album. And they are two other very talented musicians in Richmond who have supported Liz a great deal. Some of the proceeds from the show and from the release are going to the Virginia Anti-Violence Project, which I spoke of earlier. And I am really trying to push away from the label being about me or my voice, and instead grow it into a collective that's, more about values and helping community. Yeah, so another friend who's not from the Richmond area, Burko, she goes by Burko Lover. She's based in Baltimore, and she's joined on also in an A&R type capacity with recruiting and curating releases.
There's a shadow in the dark. I see it when I spark. Up smoke, don't cry, just fly, but terrified. I can't move, I can't scream, I can't fight. My enemies, they penetrate my dreams and my life, my screams. I can't breathe, I can't see what's killing me, it's killing me. I'm Burko Lover. I'm based in Baltimore City. I shouldn't say based. I'm born and raised and from Baltimore City. I rap Baltimore City like I rap my skin color. Like you just can't miss it. It's all in my voice. I am Burko Lover. I perform like that in my solo stuff. Burko Lover is one half of So Nice Yesterday. Burko Lover is a part of Merge, and Burko Lover is a part of the DIY community here in Baltimore City.
She and I have a new collaboration called Merge, and we'll likely be releasing something in the next year, hopefully before the end of the year, through Grimalkin Records.
I also have a food show. It's called Another Fucking Food Show. You should check that out. You can find me on BurkoLover.com. BurkoLover.bandcamp.com, SoNiceYesterday.com. And then on SoundCloud is Burko Lover.
Yeah, so she and I make completely different music separately, and our creative process is also a lot different, I think. But I think we really mesh well together.
I create in such a unorganized way. It's like either I'm going to produce a lot of things at one time, or I'm just going to go on this sabbatical almost. I'm just stagnant. I'm just trying to find myself again so I get inspired. But really what I do, I like to just like play with a lot of sounds, and then I write music as I'm producing it, which may or may not be a bad thing, but it's just how I do it. And I like to work with other people who are like just really good people. I'm a big energy person, so if I ever feel like your energy is a little off, we're just not gonna function well. And I might still try, but I know in my heart that didn't turn out as good as it should have been, because something was a little bit off about your energy. Or maybe it was my energy. Maybe I was the one that was off. I don't know. But I'm really big on having a genuine appreciation and respect for each other when you're collaborating. I think that's where the best collaborations happen. You gotta really respect and understand that this person has something that you admire or think that will work good with you, and vice versa.
We plan to release something on Grimalkin Records, hopefully in the next year. I would love to release her solo work, and we've talked about that as well. So hopefully that'll be something happening in the next year or so. And I know she's voiced supporting a local school there in Baltimore called Arita's Cross Freedom School. They work to prepare youth to be community organizers and change makers. They teach Black history as well as life skills, and they are doing important work in the Baltimore community. So I asked my friends that are involved in Grimalkin Records to share their thoughts, and I think Burko really does sum up some of the feelings that I was having after the election, and also in regards to what we are trying to do with Grimalkin Records.
I just want to say I really enjoy making music. These are really horrible times right now. I just want everybody to know that it's getting scary and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I also want to say it's been scary. So if it's just now scary to you, maybe you should open your eyes to the things that you have been closing your eyes on. And then from there, we can try to figure out what we can do. But in the meantime, you should maybe, if you can't do anything else, try to channel that energy into something productive and not destructive and not harmful. Burko signing out. Check out Merge. Check out Burko. Check out So Nice Yesterday. Check out Kasha Thomas. Check out old EHC stuff. Check out Uncle Rusty. Check out my girlfriend Good Fortune Tarot.
So Grimalkin Records has a lot of really exciting upcoming releases coming out. The Womajich Dialyseiz release should be out late September, hopefully September 29th. Another release out this October on October 8th is Madison Turner. And she's a local musician to Richmond. She makes really, really catchy, cool, I guess you'd describe it as pop punk with some folk thrown in there. I don't know, it's really hard to pinpoint down music, really.
Can't escape from this web. The strings all create a mess. Stuck in a net, what's the point of all of this? Well, anyways, all's left to wait for is death.
So one of the other goals of Grimalkin Records is to collaborate with other labels. And she has a label close by Air. And so her release is going to be a collaboration between the two labels. We are doing a cassette version of her new album, A Comprehensive Guide to Burning Out, which is great. You should really check it out. You can already purchase it digitally and on CD on her Bandcamp. And what we're going to put out collectively, which will be posted on Grimalkin Records, is a cassette version that you can purchase. And side A will have that album, and then side B is a live set that I recorded from the benefit show she played. So she played for the benefit show this past June for the Virginia Anti-Violence Project. So that set was really outstanding, and that's going to be side B on the release. Hopefully it'll be out this fall, like I said, and you really definitely should check her music out.
Hi, my name's Madison Turner. I'm a musician, singer-songwriter. I have a new album out called A Comprehensive Guide to Burning Out. I released this on my label, Close by Air Records, which is as much a record label as it is an excuse to release my own music and book shows for friends and touring bands. I hope to release more on that label, but that's all it is right now. The record, A Comprehensive Guide to Burning Out, was recorded in Tallahassee, Florida, with a good friend of mine, Tyler Bisson, who also plays a lot of instruments on that record and sings a lot of the backup. I also got a lot of other friends to record with me, such as my good friend George Generakis plays fiddle all over that record. He also has a folk, kind of punky folk project called Yankee Roses that's really awesome. My good friend Woody Bond, who I have played with in my previous band as well, Paranoia Dance Party, he played drums on my new record, and Jeremy Andrew Hunter played some keyboard and a little bit of trombone. You might know them from their project Ska Tune Network or their band We Are the Union. And Susie Petty, one of the co-owners of Tallahassee's The Bark, and who was in a great band called Gorgeous, played a little bit of stand-up bass on the album. It's mostly a rock alternative album with a lot of pop punk influence, but there's definitely a lot of folk influence that went into it as well. It's all over the place. It's a lot of fun. That album was released this past January 2018. I'm really excited to be working with Nancy on this project. I think Grimalkin Records is a really cool label, a really neat idea for how a label should function.
Proceeds from her release will be going to a local nonprofit here in Richmond called the Health Brigade. They're a nonprofit free community clinic, and they provide health services, medical services, and for the least served, and definitely in a non-judgmental way. And they're a really important clinic here in the Richmond area. We're taking submissions, and you can email Spartan Jet-Plex at gmail.com with any possible submissions. Along with that, where would you want your proceeds to go and why? And I'm really hoping for people, to, and you don't have to be in Richmond, like I said. We're really trying to encourage, inspire people to get more active in their local communities. So thinking about supporting an organization, nonprofit or collective community group, etc. in your area, or maybe you're a part of a collective that has some kind of a need, or a part of an organization that has some kind of need. And so that's really what we're going for. And of course, our main goal is to make priority, of course, to people of color, women, and people who are queer, LGBTQIA+. That's what we're first and foremost about in terms of supporting organizations and groups that would fall into those areas especially. So encouraging people to submit if they are interested in getting involved with Grimalkin Records in any kind of capacity, whether it to join on board as being part of the collective in some way and donating art or advice, time, whatever, or doing a release. Or if you're a label and you're thinking this is something you would like to get involved with and collaborate, that's really what we're looking to do. And another release that Grimalkin Records is really excited about putting out is by my friend Thor, who's Petri Dish, and it's going to be a split release with his project and a good friend of his, Kelsey Francis. She's also a very talented musician, and they're both based out of Boston.
Hi, I'm Petri Dish. I'm out of Boston, Massachusetts. The kind of music that I do is sort of an electronic song format with heavily processed Android vocals. And I'm really excited to be putting out an EP with my friend Kelsey Rose Francis on Grimalkin Records because of their emphasis on queer, POC, and non-binary artists, and they're donating their proceeds to local charities is really cool. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, I've started a new label called Fish Prints. We are releasing some esoteric or strange demo type things and some of my favorite artists of all time. That will be fun, and I'm also working with iHeartNoise on their releases and in general on their content.
Although I have a strong need to create stuff on my own, I have an equally strong desire to work with others, and I especially like working with people who create music that's quite different than what I do. So like Burko, for example, she usually makes music that's, electronic dance music, hip-hop, rap, trip-hop. So that's a lot different than what I normally do. I work with another guy, Brian Piccolo, We go by Knox on Light University. He makes electronic music, again, very different from the kind of thing I normally do. We've made like an insane number of songs in the last, in about a 2-year period. We haven't made music in the last year or two, but we were working for about 2 years and created, I'd say, somewhere around 300 songs. We've since deleted everything off online, but we are going to put out kind of like a best of from all that, one album of the best of what we've created. So perhaps on Grimalkin Records, hopefully in the next year as well. But just working with people who are a lot different. Like Womajich Dialyseiz is definitely a lot different than Spartan Jet-Plex project, for example. It's all improvisation, we're a collective, and it's also really dark and noisy and loud. I mean, I guess I'd say Spartan Jet-Plex definitely tends to be dark, but I tend not to be very loud or noisy. So it's just different. I just think it's important to stretch yourself, and I enjoy blending different kinds of music and sounds together. And like, you know, playing with Womajich Dialyseiz, for example, has definitely helped me stretch and grow as a musician. And I think all of the collaborations that I'm involved in do the same thing. And I would hope that all the people that I collaborate with feel the same way. Yeah, so thank you so much for listening, and thank you for inviting me on your show to talk. I really enjoyed this, and I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Nancy. Nancy did a lot of the legwork in putting this thing together, right? Yeah, she knows how to get things done. And thank you to everyone who contributed to this very special episode. I'll put all the links to the Grimalkin Records and all the artists featured in this show, Bandcamp links and all that in the show notes. So wherever you're listening to this, the links are right there. Make sure you check them out. As I've suggested, this is not the last time you've heard from the great Nancy Kells on this show. Watch out for our upcoming bonus bag with Spartan Jet-Plex. Regular episode of Ragbag coming up very soon as well. I will see you then.